So we're just announcing it. We're starting our new crowdfunding platform, Kickfunder.
Kickfunder.
If you fail to fund your project, everyone who pitched money get to kick you.
Yes.
That's
Welcome back to another Linux Gamecast Weekly, the show that covers the latest Linux gaming and news, reviews, how-tos, and most importantly, squeaky chair, whenever the hell else we come up with. Jordan's a little low. That's those wheels, aw.
yeah.
It was the slouch.
Little Jordan. He is. It's adorable. Anyway, I'm Ben. That's Jordan. That's Pedro. Together with you, Shot Realm Dynamic, helping us form. You know him, you love him. Cocaine Voltron, the best energy drink, part of our new supplement line. We don't know if we're going to put the canes.
It's Brocane Voltron, right?
Brocane.
It'll have some kind of protein, maybe.
Yeah.
Who knows, man? I was checking the mailbox. I get a little blue box. Look at that. It's blue.
It is blue. It's got a white thing on it. I don't know what it says on the white thing.
It says Tenga Tech.
Tenga Tech.
10G Tech, man.
Is it like Tenga Tapa Gurren Lagann? Or
it's a way for me to
10G,
downgrade my
yes.
network, man. This is part of my Rasda thing, man. What this does is this is a transceiver that you can plug into an SFP plus, fiber, and on the end it's got ether noodles.
Oh,
So you plug the ether noodle in this side. This one's different. If you look back here in the rack, that's how these red ones are plugged into the fiber rack. This one's 2.5 gigs. Why? Because the Rasda's got the 2.5 in it. It's rattling.
maracas. Ramba.
So I want to test it. I'm going to plug it in. I'm going to see if it'll do what it does, and I'll put it back in its box and put it in a drawer somewhere. There you go. Why? Because you weirdos want 2.5 gig networking instead of 10 gig for some whatever weird reason, because they're still trying to make that a thing. What, like 8 years in now?
Well, no, because if it's 10 gig, it's enterprise grade, right? And we can charge
No,
you
it's
like
not. 10 gig was...
Shut up.
Okay. Fine.
Intel and pushing for certain standards to remain at a price premium. Yes.
ECC. Anyone? Thunderbolt.
It's just like the whole like 2.5 gig versus 1 gig. That's not fast enough for the trouble and the price increase.
Right.
That's like, okay, fine. Another thing. I finally put this into being. Trackmania 2 RPG. Role-playing. That's right, vehicular role-play. We're going to start doing that more on Fridays after we finish the rounds matches in Trackmania. We get together on Tuesdays and Fridays. This is going to be open to everybody. Why? Because I finally got the instructions back on the internet about how to get this set up and installed. Everybody likes RPGs, and this is like an RPG, but with cars.
A car PG, if you would.
Vehicular roleplay.
Yes.
That's exactly what it is. If you need to think about it, like you get your little stadium car, and there's a bunch of shit in the way between you and the end. And we got through the map on Friday. It took us about an hour and 18 minutes. It's a good group exercise to get together and trying to figure out the puzzles. Like, how do I get this? And you got to bounce off that. So if you're not like into racing, but if you're like into pathfinding and like having to use your brain a little bit, come hang out.
Different Pathfinder RPG, not the one you're thinking of.
You should have a good time with it. All the information for that's over at Interfacing Linux, and it's just going to be wide open because the server is going to be open for people to play on the weekend. See if we can get some interest in trying to bring that back, man. That's something that just almost completely disappeared from the internet. Like, again, it took me being in a Norwegian Discord server to find a guy who had the title pack saved on his OneDrive.
We don't even have Mediafire links. We have like personal backups.
Like, this was just gone from the internet, and like it was gone because archive.org is down right now, but I got it up in another spot, so it's back. What about you, Jordan? You got your speed wheels going on.
I do. I'm Wheelie Gonzalez, I guess. I don't know where I'm going with that. Right. I brought it up in the pre Super Chosen, but I saw a couple movies this week.
A couple?
That were, I saw two that were, both of them were like very divorced from the studio system. And one of them I really liked. One of them I thought was okay. The first one was Hundreds of Beavers, which is a fantastic live action slapstick Looney Tunes. It's like Buster Keaton with some like there's some video game shit in there where like it makes sense. They use some video game language to convey some points, and I'm like, this is actually a clever way of like progressing the story, because it kind of like it's like map traversal in a video game. You fast travel, and they just formalize that into the fucking movie. So people are like, why did he just show up there? Because he's on the map screen. And the second one was the Francis Ford Coppola joint, Megalopolis. That one, that they tried with that one. He tried with that one. I will say that. Is it a successful movie? Arguably. Is it an interesting movie? Sure.
I think fair to say what I was able to take away what we were talking about in the pre super shows, and is it's different.
It is different, but not quite in the way that you would want it to be different, I guess.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. Without getting too into the weeds.
Speaking of Pedro,
yeah. Speaking of smoking weed, Pedro.
Speaking of someone who can't smoke weed, otherwise his body just goes, nope. But yeah, it's well, I had a different issue this week because on Sunday last week, I had some leftovers. It was just me for dinner. Nori didn't want anything, so just had some stuff. And it's like, okay, I'll eat the leftovers. That's fine. At about 3 a.m, my brain wakes up while my body is already halfway towards the bathroom, going, what the hell's going on? And I go into the bathroom. It's like, oh, that's what's going on. All right, food poisoning. Yay.
That sounds intense.
Jordan, have you ever had food poisoning? I don't know if I've ever had food poisoning.
I've had food poisoning a grand total of 3 times.
All right.
Don't recommend it.
This was time 2 for me.
Oh man, yeah. I'm just eating the wrong stuff, man. I'm missing out.
Dude, like the constant vomiting and shitting, and like you're out of stuff, but your body's like, no, we got to get rid of it. And you're like, get rid of what?
It's like the irritation. It's just the irritation at that point that's causing it. It's like, stop. It's already out.
Let me know in the
else
comments.
in
I'm curious who's got the best food poisoning story, because like I've definitely eaten stuff with the thought of like, let's see how this works out.
Yeah. Something you will definitely get food poisoning from if you put it into your mouth.
No.
Yes.
If it bites you, it will give you food poisoning.
if you're in the vicinity of it, if you breathe in the fumes, it will give you food poisoning. It's the Steam Update of the Week. Salmonella, more like Steamonella, am I right? Yeah, so turns out when you buy games on Steam, you're not buying them anymore, and people are very upset at this revelation. We talked about it last week. California introduced a new law on the books that says if you don't actually own the thing when you buy it, you can't call it buying it. And so Valve has updated the purchasing dialogue on Steam to say, like, when you purchase this, you are getting a license for this product. You are not actually buying it. And some people were like, what? So now I don't own my games anymore? And it's like, no, bro, you never did.
Never did.
Yeah, the only people who are getting upset about this are like children, either like literal actual children who don't understand how purchasing software works, or adult children who like to be mad at things on the internet. But if you look at the red thread, where this
been to the internet lately?
Yes, I have. This is what I'm saying. Literal, they're mental children. Sometimes they're literal children, because there's a lot of unsupervised literal children on the internet.
That is the internet.
Yes.
But
yeah. I think it's good that they are deobfuscating this. If we're supposed to get used to not owning our games, well, this is how you do it, right?
I think we always kind of like had that unspoken thing that we just all assumed, which I think for most of us, like people our age, we grew up and we understand that, that especially we feel it from playing games on Linux, because like there's like that weird subsect of like, I refuse, I play games on Linux, but I refuse to use Valve. And I'm like, why? Because you don't own your games. I'm like, I just gonna let you have that one. But it's good. It's good that we got this out there. Like the next generation, if you're unaware, you're just leasing, you're just renting that game, DRM free or not. But can we just bring back offline installers now?
That would be nice.
Well, GOG's already got on top of that. It's like, hey, our offline installers, those work forever. Then why are you pushing Galaxy so much? But we're talking about
Pedro. Why? You know why? Because we don't have to release games that work anymore. Offline installers means that you need to be able to run the game after you install it and not download a day one patch because shit's broken.
But I mean, even with like offline installers, though, you got to think about that because like you're not going to get an offline installer. Hey, those things, that's probably a dying art. Let's be honest. Of like, because like who's going to do that for distribution these days? And even if they do for a modern game, it is going to be after sales fall below certain.
Oh yeah. That's already been the case a little bit, but a couple of weeks ago when California passed the law that basically triggered this to say that it's like you can't say that you're selling a product when you're just selling a license. So we were speculating, it's like, is it going to be get the game or acquire a license for this game? No.
Lease.
As it turns out, Steam just went, no, it's a purchase still, but you're not purchasing the game, you're purchasing the license.
And it's also being purchased as part of a service, which is why you have to pay sales tax on it.
Mm-hmm.
Allegedly.
I mean, it is California, so the one state that actually cares about tax.
I don't know.
But yeah, no. People, there was a thread on Reddit of people being surprised about it, and I like that the top comment now is just the always has been astronaut meme. Like, good.
Yeah,
good job.
Like nonstop, people are just posting just the image of the two astronauts. It's not even text.
I mean, that's what it should be, though. Yeah. Because, like, welcome to the real world, Neo. If you don't know, like, software operates on licenses, always has, probably always will. And, yeah, there you go. Let me give you a little bit of good news, ladies and gentlemen, because we all miss the Steam controller. We do. We do. You know? Now, admittedly, we don't use the Steam controllers that we already own. Fair. But we miss them. Camp Creates is going to keep that dream alive by giving us something he thinks we want. He's still hard at work on the shells for what will become his version of the Steam controller. We'll call it a sided deck because that's what it is. If you chop the controllers off the Steam Deck and you stick them together, it looks like you would imagine, right?
Yeah.
I know what you're thinking, though, man. Like, Vin, you're just showing some 3D renders. And he's like, yeah, these are just some ideas I had. You know, I put them in CAD and I got everything together. But you got to keep in mind, the reason this is even worth bringing up, this is the psychopath that brought us this. The person who made an Xbox controller version with a full keyboard in between it.
The Wavebird.
And he's already did a mock-up.
with the mechanical keyboard,
full mechanical keyboard between sides of deck. And yeah, let's just roll back and take a look at this. This looks an awful lot like a diseased version of the Jaguar controller. It just needs some red buttons on the bottom, Pedro, and I think we got a product right there.
Look, I like me a weird controller. I do. That looks really cool. I don't want it looking like that.
It kind of, you know what it kind of reminds me of? When you detach the Joy-Cons from your Nintendo Switch, they give you like a little thing to like clip them into to turn them into an actual controller. It kind of reminds me of that. Yeah, the square, the Squareolas. The children, they yearn for a new Steam controller, Valve. Just give them what they want. Give it to them.
I mean, Hori is
today,
just released
imagining fucking Valve sitting
Steam
there
controller.
going like, y'all so didn't fucking buy enough of these. We were giving them away for shipping. Shut up. Go to hell. Fuck you all. We're Valve.
We
Buy
gave you a
Steam
free
Deck.
copy of Rocket League so that you'd buy one of these fuckers, man.
And it didn't even work, man. Did I say this is somebody who has like my extra Steam controller for $5, right? And that's like just in a box, like, or
I tried to get people to buy the Steam controllers when they went down to the $5. It's like, it's $5. Just buy them.
dude, even at $5, okay, like it was in our Discord that popped off somebody, I forget who noticed it first. And we're like, and I'm like, I don't need one. I'll tell you what, I'll check back tonight in like 8 hours. And if they'll be gone, I won't have to worry. Came back 8 hours later at $5, still in stock.
I will say though, like I think honestly the chief complaint was just missing like a second analog stick and a D-pad. And if they they really just got to figure out a way to put that into the real estate, and I think
they did good. They did good though. They innovated on what they needed to, and like it works on the Steam Deck. And I don't know necessarily the Steam Deck stuck together like with a Nintendochucks that makes the best controller, as opposed to like why Nintendo felt the need to make the Switch Pro controller, because that fucking makes a lot more sense.
There's also the ergonomics of it, right? Like
yes, the squares don't work very well. You don't want to hold a square that close together. That close together is not too bad. Like that. Kind of, you don't want to stretch it out like that. Like,
and
if you're doing the controller like that,
that's the thumbnail for this episode. By the way, it's just all of us going like.
If you're doing the controller like that, you can also maybe move some of the stuff around because you're not constrained by the Steam Deck and having the screen in the middle. You can adjust things. You can be a bit more ergonomic about it.
Remember that fucking Kickstarter controller about like the detachable controller where you could like...
Yes, just like vaguely enough to know like, well, that never happened, did it?
It never happened. And it was such a cool idea where it's like, and you can like use it with a mouse too. And like,
think about it like this though, man. Like, I mean, if you're planning about like doing like maybe some crowdfunding, I got an idea. Like, give me a modern version of the Power Glove, Nintendo. That's all I want. Nintendo Power Glove.
Give me the shake weight controller.
Fuck you, Vin. No Power Glove for you. Buy $100 alarm clock.
In your Dreamcast. But
literally, and it only works if you're alone. Like that is part of Nintendo's packaging marketing right there. They're like, you can't have more than one person in the bed or it won't work. We knew that going in.
One clock per person. Yeah.
Let's talk about not one, but 3 brand new games.
Yeah, Tatsuhwa Night is our first one. Tatsuhwa Night Order of the Alchemist, which is totally not Symphony of the Night. It's completely different, you guys. Not at all the same game at all. Completely not a Castlevania ripoff. Well, I mean, let's be real. There's so many games on Steam that are Castlevania ripoffs, specifically Symphony of the Night. And if you're gonna steal from the best. Don't steal your shit from a crappy game. But yeah, it is a side-scrolling Metroidvania. Features your anime girl protagonist in thigh-high boot, or in, I guess, knee-high boots. Not thigh-high boots, but you get some spells, you can explore stuff, and yeah.
I mean, you say Castlevania. When I see this, my first thought was not, I mean, outside of like just the obvious, like, but I'm like, if you would have told me this was a Bloodstained remake, I'm like, all right.
Bloodstain is just Symphony of the Night, but yeah,
but the serial numbers filed off. Yeah.
Yep.
Why do you think that is?
It's very created by the same person.
Probably is, yeah. But yeah, I was going to say like aesthetically and with the character wise and the abilities, kind of come across as a Bloodstained remake more than it did a Castlevania remake. But I digress, as you were.
That's the thing. If you don't think that one is a enough of a Castlevania remake, any of the other 3 games on that bundle are made by the same person, and they're Castlevania.
See, this one already looks a little horny. This one, this one's just getting a little too horny for me. Like,
no, that's the same game. Those are just the horny pics that they use
the thumbnails. That's what I'm talking about. Like,
it needs to get hornier, man.
We got the chain, and we're like, all right, maybe. But when we get over here, I'm like, that's just, this is getting a little too much. I don't even want to check that one.
That is like the entire series. That Daddy Garay, good job. That's Vania as fuck. Good job.
You need 64 bits of Linux. Hey man, it's only like 600 megs, so like good on that.
So what? It's like the size of 10 Symphony of the Nights or whatever.
Yeah. Oh god, they're still trying. How much is what is this? Oh, this is the advanced collection. Yeah, no, I'm good.
Those are some good ones. The ones on the GBA.
There's only one negative review, and well,
not in our language, I guess.
No, all right. So everything's positive about this, as long as we received it for free. Cool. How much is this thing? It's early access, $13.99.
Reasonable.
Yeah. Go play around with it. Up next, something completely different.
Until it isn't.
Completely different. Listen, not everybody has like a raging hate boner for action side scrollers that were released on October.
It's not a raging hate boner. I'm just tired of them.
Throbbing then.
It's at least a half chub. I can see the bulge through your baggy pants, Pedro.
So are we going to go with Anima? Anima?
Yeah, Anima Flux.
Anima Flux, not to be confused with any other type of Flux or any other.
Not Aeon Flux. Although the animation in that trailer does give me some Aeon Flux time.
It might give you, I watched, enough of the trailer and I'm like, hey, this thing's got a demo. I'm going to download it and play around with it. It's co-op. Oh, good. Co-op. That kind of, no, that type of co-op.
No.
Boo.
Remote play co-op.
Yeah. So the first thing that struck me, I downloaded it, lit it up, played around with it for a bit. The combat, your attack button is on the right shoulder button, which just out of the gate, I guess it's good. It is good that you're dealing with software from a damaged human being. Because nobody puts attack on the right shoulder button. And Assassin's Creed does that. It's just as bad there. It sucks just as much in 2D. There's plenty of dialogue, though. Plenty of dialogue to slog through if you want to sit there and like read in your action games. See, that's what really upset Pedro. It's not the action. It started up and they're like, reading? No.
No, I don't want to read
the thing that upsets me is that on Linux, we don't need more 2D action platformers, please.
No, we need more boomer shooters, right, Pedro?
Right, Pedro?
I'm
like
still not over
That's
those.
different.
I am still not tired of those. I might, in a few years, I might get tired of them, but right now, I love me some boomer shooters, and Kvark is...
We're not anywhere fucking near this next story, baby.
Okay.
You got to calm down, dude. You put like one line in the show notes and you got like a paragraph. I got like, give me a second. I ain't done fucking talking, son. Now, something I want to address with this game. I didn't run in with just this. I ran into another demo I tried earlier today. Out of the box, by design choice, movements on the analog stick. Is that what you want in an action platformer? What are your thoughts, gentlemen? Does that immediately turn you off?
These days, I think that's pretty standard.
To me,
I prefer
that can
the
phase that you don't require precision.
Yeah, it's 2D movement. You kind of need that digital input. That's what the D-pad's there for.
Now, does it completely is like the analogs, or is the D-pad like just items or something, or it's like there's no movement at all?
The D-pad's always put down for fucking items, and like you can't swap it out. Like if you got to play like a serious action platformer, you're using the fucking D-pad. You're not using a goddamn analog stick. Like nobody.
But
that's the thing. I think that might be an old head opinion. The kids these days, they might be all about the analog sticks for their platformers.
I'm just watching like anybody who does speed running. They don't fucking use an analog stick.
Not everyone's a speedrunner. So,
but yeah, for speedrunning,
not everybody has two eyes.
You need the exact digital input. That's like, okay, I need to be as precise as possible.
Yeah, you're not going to get precision with a fucking analog stick.
I mean, I'm sure people manage though.
You can, but it's going to require a lot more time than we have.
It is like, it's like way more. See, you'd want to. Analog sticks make sense in racing games because you want that much, right?
You want the analog movement. You want to just turn a little bit or turn a lot.
Right.
I would say the kids these days, they don't even distinguish. They have the little nub on their iPhones that they move up and down, and that's their movement.
See, I got more faith in children. I gotta imagine
that's how mobile games play, dude. That's how it is. They're
When you talking about the kids these days that are playing, I'm talking about the cool kids. Cool kids like
the cool kids, aka the not cool kids who play.
Yes, Jordan. I'm talking about literally every fucking child that has a thing I call a console to game on with a controller that has an analog and a D-pad. Yeah.
They still spend most of their time playing games on their phones.
That's a cool side story. We're not on that.
I'm just saying. I think that analog stick controls for platformer isn't super controversial, and I don't think people outside of like our generation care. That's it. That's my point.
Yeah, the Blasphemous was the last 2D platformer that I played with any kind of actually enjoying my time.
But that's not an action platformer.
It's a Souls-like, yes.
It's really
Souls-like. I thought it was a book.
But it is that one is very much, you can use the left analog stick, but the D-pad is movement. That there's no way in or out of that. The D-pad is for movement, and for some of those boss fights, you need that precision. So, yeah, D-pad for me.
I think you just gotta get good.
Maybe like help you out with my way of thinking here, Jordan, is there's not an option. See, like with a game like Hollow Knight, you got Hollow Knight, I think is a good example. You know, enough people know what that game is. The D-pad and analog stick both move the character. Pick and choose. And you know what? Depending on where I'm at in a map, it's good to have that option. Because sometimes you just want to dick around with the analog stick because you don't need that precision. However, in a game like this, there's not that option at all because the D-pad is reserved for a convoluted menu system.
Oh yeah,
that you have to use during the game.
I'm not saying taking away the people's option is a good thing. I'm just saying it's not that big. I think most people don't care.
Well,
yeah.
You can say that about everything.
Well, I'm saying by our sample size of 3, you've been outvoted. So 2 out of 3 do.
All right. Democracy.
There we go.
All right. Now let's talk about boomer shooters.
No.
Yes.
Well, let's talk
now
about.
I get to talk about my style of retro video games that I do enjoy still. Go figure. Kavark. Yes, it gives me some like the arena style shooting and the big wide open areas. There's some light Serious Sam vibes, but
I'm going to say graphically for the people like listening, which is most of you. This is like, I'm going to say engine wise is like Quake 2 and Half-Life 1 had a love child.
A little bit.
Yeah. It's in between that Gold SRC and It Tech 2.
The reviews say that like it plays very much like Dusk, but with some like Half-Life and Stalker skins. With the rad suits, I don't know. I kind of got Lethal Company with guns.
Dude, all right. See,
that was the first. Yeah, that was the first thing that jumped out at me. To be fair,
I saw the thumbnail and I'm like, shit, we can play this in the after. Oh, it's a first person shooter.
Single player only.
Yeah, what?
Yeah. It is.
I want some Lethal Company with guns. Right? Yeah.
But yeah, it is. It's the 80s. You're in the Czech Republic. You wake up and the facility where you work in has shit has hit the fan, and now you gotta run.
Are you saying you gotta check yourself before you wreck yourself?
You gotta check yourself and wreck everything that comes at yourself. It is very much just Dusk is very good comparison. Yeah, it's very much that same style of shooting. What was the Portal game that wasn't made by the Portal people? That was
Splitgate?
No, not Portal. Postal. I'm getting my
I get those confused all the time.
Yeah,
Portal
easy to confuse, man. Yeah.
It's one of the Postal games. It's the let's see, Brain Damage. That's the one. It is very much that style of game, and I very much enjoy it. And it is, if I didn't still have Postal Brain Damage to finish, this is probably the one I'd be looking at playing next. So
I gotta say though, I really like how the trailer for episode 3 was cut. I thought that was like really gave me a vibe. The trailer 2 or Act 2 trailer was a little weaker, but like I kind of like how it was composed. It gave me, it's kind of like the old trailers for like first person shooters where like you just get like the guy walking up in like the start of the room and some dialogue over it. I was a fan of that vibe.
Well, you see, I definitely like roll back far enough. I'm like, when I think of like a boomer shooter, I'm like, what are you doing trying to put a plot in my game here?
They killed this bunny. Now they all have
this whole idea of like environmental storytelling, like kind of started with Quake 2 a little bit if you squint, and it took off with like Half-Life.
Mm-hmm. But yeah,
I think
the plot
Half-Life
is
was
just
one
the
that,
excuse. Is why are you killing the things? It's like, oh shit, hit the fan. Okay, cool.
But wouldn't it have been so much better if like, because like in the trailer when the guy in the yellow rad suits are running, the bunny rad suits are running at you, wouldn't it be great if they were like knee high?
Yeah, they look like little rabbits.
Yeah. I thought it'd be kind of fun. There we go. Up and done. Let's get into a little bit of news. Starting off with Emuls.
It was all a Dreamcast.
Retro gaming PC. Mini PC crowdfunder ends in tears. Don't oversell it, Tom's Hardware. All these will be in our show notes. Nobody bought it. The teased follow-up project will hopefully attract more than Well, we'll get to that in a minute. We talked about the EmuDeck hardware crowdfunding campaign a while back, a couple of weeks ago. They wanted 600 wet stinky caches for basically just a mini PC, the internals of one, with we have a Dreamcast at home 3D printed shell. It ended with a grand total of 6 backers. It's kind of rough. And, the price for that EmuDeck, if you go back and listen to the episode, listen to what I said about that, it was off by quite a bit, even though, they wanted to give it a Ryzen 7 7840 or potent, 780M graphics, something like that.
So some eGPU stuff.
Yeah, like they had like crazy dreams and all that. It was like $600. That's just a tough thing to sell, especially when you get into hardware. And I kind of felt, even back the day, I wanted to see what they were going to do with it before. But I got to think, like, if you're doing hardware these days, you can't start a crowdfunding thing with like something that looked like I 3D printed with my original MakerBot. I'm like, it's not a Saturn or a Dreamcast, and say, hey, we're just going to do this. Like, the way you got to go about this, free advice that you probably shouldn't take, is you need to get something made and you need to get it out, not to us, but to, the retro gaming tubers and stuff. And let them play with it.
The hype generators.
Yeah. So like they can do their initial impression video and, keep it for their color. Make sure you let them keep it so it'll be rare. And that'll help you out, because
it'll show up in their background.
They won't be influenced, and they can add it to their wall collection. And then they can be like, oh, and by the way, they have a Indiegogo or Kickfunder to do that. Like
an indie starter or a
Kickfunder, baby.
Yeah, no, Kickfunder is a good
where we
one.
get to kick them if they don't make it.
Okay. So we're just announcing it. We're starting our new crowdfunding platform, Kickfunder.
Kickfunder.
Where if you fail to fund your project, everyone who pitched money get to kick you.
Yes.
That's if you don't deliver,
everybody who starts a Kickfunder project gets an ankle tag.
Yeah,
we will be able to find you.
Yeah, and you'll get your ass kicked if you don't deliver. Yeah.
Yeah, Pedro, I agree with you, man. Like it's a
little disheartening. And the tweet that they made is like, okay, 3D printed prototype of the EmuDeck machine. Too bad nobody bought it. It's like, yeah, I'm not salty. But it is a little disheartening. But remember, people really enjoy your software.
It looks like a diseased stormtrooper helmet.
People really enjoy EmuDeck,
right,
the software. So
Pedro,
focus on that.
Pedro, if you told me that was a fucking cake.
Yeah, it looks like cake.
Yeah, that looks like icing, doesn't it? That might be it.
Yeah.
It looks like something I mount on the ceiling of my bathroom to like suck out the farts.
It could be a smoke detector. Yeah, absolutely. It's got the slits for it.
It's a little sad, but like, let's be real. We're in the fucking ass middle of the current gen console lifecycle. Everyone is releasing the 0.5 version of their console. People don't want to spend more money on this kind of hardware, especially at this point in time.
So all of my brothers and sisters out there on Team Red, Team Nintendo, Jordan Swang just called the Switch 2 a 0.5 console. Just remember that in the comment section. All right.
I'm sorry. It's actually a 0.25 console. Let's be real.
It's only going to be better than the Switch 1.
It technically, yes.
Something we were wondering about earlier this week, just what the hell is Zoom platform?
Yes.
Not Zoom. Video calling. Yeah.
I had to look that up. It's like, wait, Zoom platform? Does Zoom make games now? No, not that Zoom.
Yeah, they're trying to follow in the Discord route of like opening a game store.
Okay, we really should. I should have did more due diligence, because like if this doesn't predate Zoom, this is just doomed. Because if you didn't have enough self-awareness to know that like this is trash for like the most basic bitch SEO, you will never find this outside of a direct hyperlink. And even then, your browser's gonna be like, did you mean?
Did you? Yeah, mod spelling kicks in.
I may be wrong, but I think Zoom platform wasn't called Zoom platform exactly, but there was a Zoom gaming platform before Zoom, the
Zoom-platform.sh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But zoomplatform.sh is actually a little script that they've set up to effectively call.
Just pipe it into Bash. Just do it.
Yes. Trust us, bro. But yeah, you can actually download it and just see what it's doing. It's effectively setting up some desktop shortcuts and setting up a script that launches games that are available from the Zoom platform that you buy. And then you just run the script and it sets everything up correctly, which is absolutely fine. It's very much what Legendary, the CLI client for Heroic, and Lutris, very much, the OG type of situation.
I have a very serious question I need to ask you.
Go ahead.
Have you ever been the Penguin Zone?
You gotta go on the highway to the Penguin Zone. I'll take you right into the Penguin Zone.
I mean, if it's not stainless games, then the Penguin Zone's probably safe.
But yeah,
I'm just glad that they don't own Carmageddon anymore. That one of the small victories in life. But this is as attempts from companies that aren't necessarily doing Linux first as a thing. This is a very good way to do it because you buy a game, then you run the script, and it sets up shortcuts with icons and everything, and it should, in theory, make the game just work, kind of like you do with Steam, using, just regular wine and everything else. Or you could use, I think one of the options is to
Alien
use
Disco Safari.
That's where I was going. You didn't have to say anything.
And of course, it uses Umu, which we've talked about it, and we're going to be talking about it in very short order as well. But
I do like that. Again, this is a game store that no one has ever fucking heard of. No one will ever find because of poor SEO. And if Zoom can doom, then so can Yum. Put out a Linux version.
Yeah. Hey man, listen. At least they're doing something, right?
Yeah.
Yes. And they're actively supporting Linux, even if it is a little weird.
And they're not trying to reinvent the wheel, which is the nice thing. It's they're wrapping around an existing utility that has a lot of heavy development on it or happening on it.
And their store's been around for a little while, so yeah, good. We're just giving you shit just because that's what we do. But yeah, we think it's a good idea, and they're using the not Uwu launcher.
It's not running on Asahi Linux though.
Oh no, baby, check it out. Let me tell you a story. Fex, Wine, and DXVK, they walk into a bar. And a nice little blog post comes out over at asahilinux.org. So I went through this, plenty of stuff going on in here. Like, all right, just rolling through. Wait, there we go. The main takeaway from this entire blog post is effectively one thing and one thing only. Asahi Linux now runs Hollow Knight at full speed. Now, you might say, yes, there's other less interesting trivial bits concerning other lesser games and technologies smattered around, mostly just padding and filler, right, guys?
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Cyberpunk, Control, Ghostwire.
Some indie bullshit.
You know that Alyssa just loves to waste people's
Fallout
time,
4.
Right? But yeah, like this is a blog post from Alyssa Rosenweig. She is the scary witch who is working on a lot of the Linux Apple graphics stack alongside Mark Hanna and Asahi Lina. But yeah, and actually, I think Strider posted one of her talks in our Discord. You should get into our Discord and go watch that, or find the YouTube video.
Yeah, she did a talk at XDG.
Yes,
I posted it with a timestamp yesterday. Go watch it.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. So the whole interesting thing about how Asahi uses a 16K page size, x86 apps use 4K page size. So we got to run a 4K virtual machine next to our 16K page size kernel, and run Fex and DXVK and Proton through all of that to get things working. But it does in fact work. And there are a bunch of games that like run even at full speed on the M1 ARM, which is just really, really cool.
Yeah, man. Like, this is really neat. They talk about tessellation and like The Witcher 3, and I'm like, I didn't know they were doing tessellation all the way back then. But hey, apparently they are. And it's using it to generate geometry. And they said the M1 has hardware tessellation, but it was too limited for like DirectX, Vulkan, or OpenGL. So they have to tessellate with arcane compute shaders, which is quite unfortunate. But there's a little bit of a takeaway from that. That's basically saying Apple doesn't have the hardware bits in the M series to do the tessellation that you would expect to see in your DirectX and your Vulkan and that. And you're like, what about Molten VK? Well, Molten VK doesn't support geometry shaders. So that's out. So yeah, basically Hollow Knight runs at full speed, and that's brilliant. Go buy a Mac. So we're going to be talking about FurMark, which makes me think, man, where the hell is our 3D Mark that we were promised? Because we're running out of 2024.
Well, you know, more promises are being made by the Fuzzy Butthole, but in the interim, you can run your Fuzzy Butthole on some
that's
newer
Blue Sky. That's like RSS feed, Twitter.
Butterfly, yeah.
Butterfly, all right.
Butterfly in the sky and Mastodon. Ooh. Yeah, but FurMark 240 is out. I ran it. If you turn the butthole off, it makes my RX 7800 XT whine like crazy. I don't know why. It's so dumb. But it is the same classic fuzzy butthole that you know and love. Keep it away from your Flames logo and your Box 64, or else you may end up with some third-degree burns. But the latest version adds support for some newer Intel GPUs, adds some support for some newer ARM stuff, and GPU monitoring for Windows. If you want GPU monitoring on Linux, you're going to have to wait. They say that you should expect it around the time of George R. R. Martin finishing The Winds of Winter.
Mango HUD.
But yeah, you can run this. I certainly did. I got 75-ish frames a second at UHD, and then I turned the donut off, and my computer screamed in agony, and then I closed the program.
I was using this yesterday, man. I was doing some benchmarking on the Razda, which is the new thing I'm working on for interfacing Linux. I got some single-digit numbers for you, baby. We're talking 720p low.
Oof. It's fuzzy and it's very stressful, just like me.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about multiple thousands.
God damn, that hurt my brain for a minute, man. I was like, wait,
why?
what? Oh,
be quiet.
No, it was like, wait a minute. No, the motherboard's mounted on the wall and the GPU's down here on a block of wood. Okay. All right. Got it.
Wait, is that some like fiberglass
right
insulation behind it?
That right there. Yeah, that right there
That's just
is
particle board.
shit's on fire.
That's the plywood,
Just
yeah.
yank the GPU.
A gentleman of class, though. It's like a solid 2x4 down there. Before we get out of here, though, we need to dissect and to verify, possibly solve the true cost of game piracy.
Yes, because we all know and loathe Denuvo, the bane of our existence. It comes packaged with a lot of new AAA games.
Do we? When was the last time you had a problem with it? Because a lot of I've had
So me personally, no, because I don't typically buy games on release. I'll usually wait, and we'll actually get to that part. But there was there's the question of, does Denuvo actually work? Does it accomplish what it sets out to do? And this one dude attempted to solve this problem by doing some statistical analysis. The numbers he uses, because a lot of these guys don't actually release sales numbers, so we don't have any real hard data. He's using a couple proxies such as Steam reviews and active player numbers and SteamDB to sort of guesstimate some active players and active new players. A lot of the paper, which I managed to get access to, if you just go to RScholar, you can find it. The normal paper is paywalled. But there's a lot of
pirating the paper about piracy. Very good.
Yeah, but listen, I just don't want to get Aaron Swartz. Okay, that's it. But yeah. So there's a bunch of data analysis happening, and the conclusions that the fellow draws is that there isn't actually a way to predict if and when a game is going to be cracked. There are small games with DRM that release that get cracked. There are huge games that get released with DRM that never get cracked. It's kind of just a random event. There is no real predictor. And so using that, essentially tracking the time before cracks exist versus after cracks exist, determine that between 7 and 20% of sales during that period could potentially be lost due to piracy. That is, of course, assuming that one pirated copy correlates to one lost sale. And the paper does indicate that this may or may not be true. We're just trying to see what the numbers say given the information that we have available to us at the time. Although near the end, he does recommend that like a lot of the saves or a lot of that 20% is in the first 12 weeks. After 12 weeks, there is negligible benefit to sales for including DRM such as Denuvo. So maybe after 12 weeks, remove it. Just take it out of the game, because you may end up getting some sales because people will not buy games due to DRM, and some people will, and you might generate some positive word of mouth after the initial window.
No, they do say 28 Denuvo protected games released so far in 2024, 26 of which have yet to be cracked. Which, like it or not, shit works. Because I think there's like, what, 2 people capable with the ability?
He listed 4, but like, yeah, it's a lot of like, yeah, and there's the people he interviews or some of the crackers he talked to were saying like it's really, really hard. It's a lot of work for not a lot of benefit. So the people who are working on it only do it because they really care about it.
And everybody's experience with Denuvo is always negative, because if it does its job, you don't know it's there, right? So any experience that you're going to have with it is going to be bad. Like I've had mine. I bought a Devil May Cry 5, which still had Denuvo on it, and switching Proton versions, this is in the earlier days of Proton, to try to find the right cocktail to make it work, locked me out of my brand new game for 24 hours that I just bought. So I had to like just take my new toy and put it back on the shelf for an entire day before I could go back to hopefully not triggering it again. But I think what it comes down to is Denuvo ain't cheap. That's why we're effectively free of it. And I'm sure Quad A games from Ubisoft will probably have it. But mere triple, double A and indie titles, like it's not even in the scope of the budget, man. So I think for a lot of us, at least the 3 of us, we don't buy a lot of triple A games, at least not on release.
No.
But I was surprised by, I was reading through, probably been a couple of months ago, about games that had Denuvo still active for whatever reason, because normally like it hits that ratio, right? Like this is costing us more than what it would cost if it was just easily, thievable online. So they take it out. And we all do our like celebration of how many of those games that I had in my library. And I'm like, I've played all those. Like, I didn't have a problem with it. But then you want to go back and like play it again, especially if it was a title that you might have had performance issues with, right? Because that was one of the big problems in the early days. Because like, yeah, there is a performance impact. Now, granted, Denuvo, they want to make that as small as possible because they like money. And having a good product that protects those day one sales. How about we just get rid of it? And here's my solution, Pedro. Tell me if I got a good idea. Prepare yourselves. I'm going to see if I can solve this problem. AAA titles for the first year, those first 12 months, console exclusives. Then by the time it comes to PC, they're going to be so clapped out, nobody's going to give a shit that we don't have to worry about putting in anti-piracy.
That's the Sony method, isn't it?
No, yeah. I didn't say require a Sony account.
That's the thing.
Even for the Microsoft games, you need a Sony account.
We've
especially
already
for the Nintendo ones.
We've already had several years of that, especially during the PS3 and Xbox 360. That's where the major shift happened for a lot of games, where they were developed first for the consoles, starting with the PS2 as well, but it was more like the PS3, Xbox 360 era that cemented it. Games were developed for consoles first, and then we got shitty PC ports. So I'd very much not want that. And you're not...
That does remind me, because we are talking about consoles. One thing to bring up here is that like the data collected here was almost exclusively done via Steam, because that was the best source of information available. So the stuff here doesn't really apply to Epic or consoles. Or
given the flawed base of the data, it makes a lot of sense to use Steam, because you have stuff like Steam charts,
SteamDB,
and SteamDB. So, and you have Steam's numbers itself. It's like, okay, we have these many people online right now. This game has these many people playing it. So that technically works. But it's impressive And I do wish that publishers would pay attention to the 12-week number, because that's the thing. It's like, okay, after 12 weeks, the difference between whether or not the game is cracked in sales is negligible. Entirely negligible. It's basically you're getting the exact same amount of sales whether Denuvo is there or it has been cracked. It doesn't matter. But at least on Linux, Denuvo was a problem at first.
Pedro,
when it first came out.
It's not about the money. It's about sending a message.
And there's something to be said about, after the 12 weeks, just remove it. Because
Do
yes,
we
you
put, like, a
will
little Denuvo in there.
because we know that there's different kind of implementations, and it goes back to the whole performance thing. You can implement Denuvo calling back home in different ways, supposedly. So the more it calls back home, the higher the performance impact. And there's games that people have tested, A to B with and without Denuvo. And there was the performance impact was almost 50% in some cases, and Denuvo outright denied that was happening. Despite
Now, how long ago was that, and how many titles was it?
It was like 2 titles.
Okay, these are important
3 or 4
things,
years ago.
Yeah, right.
and again, it's a pretty decent paper. I read through the entire thing, and the guy's head isn't up his ass. He tries to justify, like, here's all the proxies I used. Here's my source for saying, like, this is, like, as good as based on, like, the existing analysis, close on what we have, close to what we get. The fact of implementing DRM is a technical cost, and that has to be factored against, as Sven alluded to. These solutions are expensive, not only just from a monetary standpoint, but from an implementation standpoint. In terms of there can be performance impacts. You need to maintain the compatibility with maybe, but like removing it does remove it. What does remove an additional technical burden to maintaining your game in the long term. So there is a good reason to.
I mean, it's to what I was originally going to say is, like, it's a self-correcting thing, because no company will perpetually keep paying that bill. Like, it is for the publisher, it is a subscription service to have Denuvo for their game. And that has to be re-upped.
And it is really, and as this study indicates, really the only good it does is it does protect 20% of those initial 12-week sales, and that's kind of it.
Now, like, the dark fantasy part of my brain, man, was like, we're just doing fanfic because I don't want to hear anything about it. Let's just have some fun. Let's just have some fun, because I know this is immediately going to go wrong. I was thinking, like, if I was going to be like snidely Denuvo Flash with my top hat and monocle and all that shit, it's like, would I be actively funding reverse engineering projects for the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox to enable copying games so I could sell a console version of Denuvo?
You don't need that. You have Nintendo that's already fucking paranoid about everything. Just sell it to Nintendo.
Nintendo already bought it, right? Like, they were instituting Denuvo in Switch games because the piracy was so high. Because, again, Nintendo has released...
All right, let's roll this back and pretend that you were paying attention and realized why I didn't use Nintendo as an example. So you can have your little tirade. Now, let's talk about what I was talking about. Do you think they're talking about Xbox or PlayStation? Like, in this fantasy thing, could you see them be like, I wonder if we could help these guys out a little bit? It would be in our best interest.
I think it would probably be Sony who's doing that, because, like, if you're funding those Windows cracks, then those precious sales on PS5 aren't being affected, right?
I just think it would be like this delicious poetry if, like, Denuvo, like, low-key was responsible for, like, liberating and helping reverse engineer.
It's like a two-faced situation where, like, the one half is like Razer 911 right, and the other half is Denuvo.
They're just doing it for the most evil purposes, but, like, the benefit of it is, like, freeing up all of the software for, like, preservation or whatever you want to say. That would melt your goddamn brain, wouldn't
it? That would be amazing. That would be genuinely fucking amazing.
That'd be like
problem. Microsoft being, perhaps the single most affected platform when it comes to piracy, they probably don't want to not so much as paint a target on their own themselves, but just cover themselves in bacon and jumping
Microsoft
into the.
has a far more well-rounded anti-piracy measure than that, Pedro. It's called the Xbox. No one wants to make games for it.
Game
no one
Pass.
wants an Xbox either, so you know.
Well, it's great too. You don't have to buy games. You pay $10 a month, and then you play a game for an hour, and then they cancel it. So
It's coming to iPhone and Android.
Android, yeah.
Despite Google desperately trying, no, we don't want Microsoft to be able to have games on our platform. Google, are you fucking stupid?
no, we need to be able to install EXEs natively on Android. That's
I
the
think
next step.
ultimately, at the end of the day, man, like if you're thinking about like maximizing your sales, realize that it's 2024 and release with a broad net. You know, like your console exclusives, get your shit ready on whatever you plan on releasing. If you're doing Switch and PlayStation, also have that PC port ready to go. Like, get it all out there. Nobody is going to go, like, it's 2024, man. We got other shit to do. The days of somebody going to buy a console to play a video game, gone. It doesn't exist anymore.
Right, and you're gonna lose like headspace anyways. Oh, the game is out, but like 3/4 of the people can't actually play it, and then when it comes out later, they'll be like, okay, but there's new stuff that I can play or that I have been playing already. Kind of goes back to the
what, dude, like what is the what's taking so long? What is coming out? Ronald McDemption 1, Red Dead Redemption 1.
the remake of
remaster,
that.
yes.
Yeah, Rockstar's like, we're bringing that to PC, you guys, because you know we finally, like, people finally stopped buying PlayStation 3s to play this game.
That's the thing that reminds me. I think the biggest motivator right now for reverse engineering stuff like the PS4 is keep not releasing Bloodborne, Sony.
It is the arms race. What's going to happen? Is the new Bloodborne version going to come out, or are people going to crack PS4 emulation to play Bloodborne? Although I wonder, would it be easier to get a Switch version of Bloodborne running natively on Linux than it would a PS4 version on Linux via emulation?
Okay, go ahead.
Right now,
somebody
it'd probably
write
be
this down.
difficult.
Okay, the Switch 2 will probably be cracked, 4 months after release, completely done.
Well, we already have the ability to like run Nintendo Switch binaries natively on ARM Linux now. So like,
well, this is what I'm saying. Will we have a viable PlayStation 4 emulator running on the Switch 2 hardware enough to play Bloodborne at 720p 30?
Sure.
By the end of the 2025.
Yeah.
Send us your over-under as some hate mail.
Yeah.
We don't have any this week, so yeah.
That's my fault. We got some. I just didn't have time to put it in.
No,
Blame
yeah.
me. I'll give you some bonus next week. We'll have some. We had 2 or 3 last week anyway.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, my monitors just went to bed. Are they going to wake back up? Yeah, they are. Good.
At least the camera didn't.
What?
At least the camera didn't overheat.
No, dude. It is 23.9. How are you hanging out over there, Pedro, with your rectal thermometer?
21.
21. I'm at 45% relative humidity.
Doesn't have a barometer, that one.
Ah, shit. You want to borrow my Nexus 10? To this day, I do not believe there was anything that took advantage of the barometer inside of that thing.
Yeah, they shipped it though, because you know.
I was going to barometer the shit out of some stuff, dude.
I really need to know the ambient air pressure, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you like the cut of our jab, head over to linuxgamecast.com, become one of our patrons, support the show, help us do what we do. We also have LibrePay, PayPal, and of course the old crypto stuff if you were into that. We got Wishlist on the Amazons. Jordan's got one, Jill's got one, Pedro has one, I got one for the studio. We got merch, we got Humble Bundle. All of your support is very much appreciated. If you are a patron, stick around for your name in the Pixel Lights, Motion Pixel Lights. But as a patron, you get access to not just this show, but the live and uncut version, which is the pre-show, post-show, and all the little bits that didn't make it to the final product, because I try to keep this show around 1 hour, like last week, where it was like, that's almost 2 hours. We got to take some chopping to it. So if you want all that, we'll make sure it's available, not only in video, but in podcast form as well. Access to the show notes. If you want to watch the show get made during the week, throw in your tree fitty. Hey, we like that feedback. And, something you want us to cover, let us know. throw it in the Discord. Access to our super secret Discord where we're at the other 6 days of the week doing this stuff. Yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. It's been fun. It's been real, but we have been running that little bit extra long this week. So, ladies and gentlemen, I do want to thank One Mirror for his 59 months. That resub on Twitch.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, sir. Come play some Trackmania with us, everybody. I'll be back on Tuesday doing that. Maybe a little bit of RPG on Saturday. But if you want to get in touch with me, I'm on all the social medias. I'm on the X's, man. I'm Vin Stone over there. I'm just Vin on our federated timeline. Mastodon's got that new look now, man. Mast.linuxgamecast.com. I'm Vin on Blue Sky. Probably still the only one there. We got a Linux Gamecast Facebook page. I post the shows there. If you like to follow that and get show information, you got questions about your audio, video production, all the other fun stuff going on in your Linuxy world, head over to interfacinglinux.com, leave me a message in the forums, or just read some of the awesome bullshit I've already typed out for you.
I'm Jordan. I'm your favorite pirate sailing the high seas of DRM. I don't know. Find me on Mastodon at Frojo at mast.linuxgamecast.com, at Frojo at bsky.app, and at Burning Fool on Twitter.
Grab that thing, it's yours, bitch. You can find me at unaccounted for at mass.linuxgamecast.com. You can quote more Little John lyrics to me. It's fine. I don't mind.
It's an easy way to make a pretty cake.
If the way is hazy. Yeah!
You better calm down or I'm going to make you some more chicken sushi.
Okay!
Time for some credits.
Shit, I need to find my CD case.
No, it's printed on red paper in a book.
No, you need the decoder wheel that came with the old
It's been
SSI
slightly
Goldbox
chewed
games.
by the moths.
Yeah, we got to thank our advisors, Artheron, and our executive producers, 12345, Ian, Eshep, Kurducky, drummer, the Targos, Barbara M. Scott, Tomek, Mike, and our little Nicky fans, Turbo Street Sloth, Glorious Eggroll, Basil Empty, and Casey Clism.
And the Sea Monsters, asking Joe, John, Dirty Dean, Angel Dementor, System T, RL, Orator X Machina, Nehemiah, Veritanuda, Trudgy, and Mike, and the Death Notes, Reddisk, Mark, Tara, Oil of Hope, Benjamin, Nova, Chad, Romeo, Nubbin, Turnover, Martin, Renee, Leonardo, Dodger, Kim, Chris, Jill, and Steve.
All of the beautiful chairlings flying by each and every one of you are like an angel with a
Not
broken
Daniel,
wing.
not actually Daniel Craig,
Made
though.
out of
Daniel and
hammer.
Craig.
And of course, our Libra players, Sandy and Shoddy. All right, everybody, another week to look forward to. Maybe next week will be the week we finally get SteamOS on the ROG. Then we can just do an entire episode of playing back all the shit we were talking.
MSI Claw release coming soon.
I would get something that was shaped like a crow that I could shove in my mouth, and I would eat
The
it.
Smack Zero is finally
we will be
releasing, you
shopping
guys.
for crow-shaped Pedro mouth-sized objects in the after shows. All
I
right,
would eat
everybody,
that crow.
get out there. Die to fire.
Bye. I prefer Tom Servo anyways.
5 dudes.